everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle, and I'm just so excited to be here today with Representative Nicolle Grasse, who serves the Illinois 53rd District, which is also my district, as part of our Women's Equality Day series. And the whole point of this series, right, is to have conversations with women leaders and trailblazers about why equality and participation matter today. Maybe now, I don't want to say more than ever, but it really matters today. And I love thinking about suffrage. I used to teach about it all the time. And one of my favorite stories about the suffrage era, and maybe you've heard this one, is about this young senator in 1920. His name was Senator Byrne, and he was new. It was his first term, right? And he walked into the chamber to vote against suffrage. And he got a telegram from his mom urging him to reconsider his vote. And he voted for suffrage, which tipped the balance because Tennessee became the 36th state to ratify suffrage. And so I love the story about how like individual courage can alter history. You know, just in that moment, he had probably no idea, how big this would be and that we'd still be talking about him in 2025. And so I think, your leadership here in the 53rd is part of that same story about like using your voice, about what's possible. I think I'm always seeing you advocate for collective action together, not going it alone, being in community. So I'm just happy to have you here. And before we dive in, can you just introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the 53rd these days?
Oh, I sure can. Thank you, Dr. Michelle. It is so wonderful to be here with you, and I'm so grateful that you're having these conversations. My name is Nicolle Grasse. I have been actually a hospice chaplain going on my 33rd year. I'm still doing hospice. And as I look back, it was really those people and experiences that I had early on in hospice that brought me to this place of elected office. I started during the AIDS crisis, and I was in inner city Chicago, suburban areas, rural areas, all around the Chicagoland area. And I was a frontline healthcare worker during COVID and everything in between. And I found that, our basic universal human needs are the same wherever we are, especially at end of life. And I also became very much aware of my guiding principle that what affects one of us affects all of us, and that we are, as Dr. King said, as we're bound together in a network of mutuality. And so, I learned all of that from the people and families I have been with, along with my teammates in hospice. And that is really what brought me to elected office. I have to say, after the first Trump election, I wanted to get more involved with my community. I was always supporting elected people and causes that mattered to me and the patients and families I visited. And I decided I wanted to support women running for office. So I started this Facebook group, Elect Good Neighbors. And I wanted to say, I will help run your campaign. I'll support you. And I couldn't get anybody to do it. And a couple of local elected said to me, Nicolle, don't you think maybe you should try running? You're trying to talk other people into running. Don't you think you should? And I said, you're right. I am trying to ask other women to run. I need to do it myself. So I ran for village trustee in Arlington Heights. And with that experience and those connections, when there was an opening for state representative, I applied for the appointment. And here I am. And I won the last election, and I'm busy getting some signatures together to run again next time. And I'm loving being able to represent everybody in our district and the state and really work for all of us to hopefully make things better for all of us.
Mm, yeah. So this wasn't a question I thought of before, but what has been most surprising to you since your first election? Like, I know you had ideas of what to expect, but what really surprised you?
I think what surprised me is how well my hospice chaplaincy prepared me to do this important work of being a public servant as a state representative.
Mhm.
In hospice, I am tasked to providing the best quality end of life care and support to people, regardless of who they are, what they've done in their life, what they believe, any of that. It's about meeting the people where they are and providing the best possible support and care that I can. And I take that seriously also in this role as a state representative. My role is to support and listen to all people, whether they voted for me or not. And I still represent the greater collective needs of our district. and then the state. So I think I knew that it transferred well in being able to talk to people, most importantly, to listen to people and their needs, and then work together to find solutions or options to help with whatever the concerns are. But I think I really was surprised at how well it transferred.
I can
I
see.
feel like I'm doing the same kind of public service. It's just not only with a select group of people who are dying and grieving.
Right. Yeah, we lead in all the areas of our lives.
Mhm.
I really do believe that.
Oh, I believe that too. Yes.
So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the connection with Women's Equality Day, because, it was the movement started in 1848. It was three generations of, women and allies. It was hard fought, and it was not perfect because not all women got the right to vote. As we know, in
Mhm.
1920, it wasn't until 1965 in the Voting Rights Act that, all women had the right to vote equally in the country. So I'm curious, like, what do you think, or why, in what ways is Women's Equality Day still relevant today?
Well, I think it's pretty evident by a lot of what is happening in various states that the fight for full equality is ongoing, and those rights that we thought we had finally achieved are being rolled back.
Mhm.
So it is still ongoing, and that's why it matters so much. And I am actually going to step out of the picture because I have to get something to show you. Just 1 minute. One of my heroes that has been just a guiding person for me, even since she died in 96, 93,
Mm.
is my great aunt Arlene.
Oh.
She was born in 1906.
Mm.
And even though she was my great aunt, she was like a grandmother. She was always with us, always together. I come from a small family. She helped raise us. But I remember her talks about remembering the fight for women's voting rights.
Mm.
So she was 14 years old when it happened.
Wow.
And she was a librarian as she became older, and was so involved with the League of Women Voters and making sure that women's voices could be heard and women knew the importance of voting. And I just look back at her being a huge guide in where I have come and why I'm here. She continues to be a guiding force for me. And she was from New Orleans with this beautiful Southern drawl. And boy, she just was relentless in her work for justice and equality.
Mm.
She was widowed. My uncle died young, so she was a young widow with her daughter, and she didn't let that stop her. She continued to work and fight, not just for other women, but other communities that were being attacked. And she just continues to be just a source of great strength and inspiration for me.
Oh my gosh, how beautiful that you
Yeah.
have a personal connection.
Oh, yes.
Stand
Yes.
on so many shoulders, and sometimes we know the shoulders, and sometimes
Yes.
we don't. You know,
Right.
and that's why I think it's so important to have these kinds of conversations, because now we know,
Mhm.
right, about your aunt, right, and we
Yes.
know what influenced you, one of the influences, and you go on to influence other people, and that's the ripple. That's how it goes. That's how it works.
Yes.
So what does promoting voting rights and like promoting political participation mean today? Because it's kind of, I think people are scared to get involved, you know?
I think they're scared. And I think, we have lived in a nation where we've had it pretty good since the Second World War, I think. And we've been able to accomplish some great areas of equality and justice for many in our community, not all. And I think sometimes we didn't realize how much people had to fight for all these things before us.
Mhm.
We had, some of the middle class was just booming for a time, and a family could support itself on one income, and there were a whole lot of things that became normal where we didn't really have to worry about the fight anymore as much, not for some people. And I think that now, when we have an administration that is so focused on fear and chaos and dividing us, especially if we are ones in a vulnerable minority or community, it is risky for us to use our voice.
Hmm.
especially when those in power with power are trying to make sure our voices aren't heard.
Hmm. Yes.
So I think that's why it matters so much. And just some of the federal attacks on voting, it's showing that there's fear when the power of the people
Hmm.
are able to share their voices through voting. They know that the power of people is stronger than the people in power. And that's why they want to suppress the voting, right?
Hmm.
So, and it kind of turns back to the importance of community, of knowing our neighbors, of knowing that we are stronger together and finding ways to make sure that people understand why it matters that we each vote.
Hmm. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. You know that. So,
Yeah.
what final words of inspiration or encouragement do you have to people who are feeling a little demoralized right now, or they want to do something but think, that age-old thought, well, it's just me, I'm just one person, my voice doesn't matter. What would you say? What would you love to see in your community and around the country?
So I think, you mentioned just kind of talking about talking with various leaders in the community. And I guess I just want to quickly speak to what it means to be a leader. I don't think it's about holding power. I
Right.
think it's about lifting each other up
Hmm.
and being a voice for those people who don't have a voice or who are our most vulnerable. So I guess my words of inspiration would be, or hope to share would be that every single one of us matters in the collective community that we are a part of. And we don't all have the same gifts or talents or things that we're able to do based on our situation and condition. Some people may not be able to run for office for whatever reason. Some people may not be able to make phone calls to electeds, but maybe you can write a postcard. Maybe you can just make sure to vote. Maybe you can talk to your neighbors about making sure they know when election day is. So there are so many different things we can do that together help all of us. So I think my words of hope or inspiration would be we need each other and we can only do it if we do it together. And while we don't have to all do the same things, if
Hmm.
we do what we're able to do and know that it does matter when we all do it together,
Hmm.
that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, I completely agree. The idea that we have to go it alone is a really
Yeah.
big lie. We're not here for that, and that's not how
Yeah.
we change.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. And I want to tell everyone who's watching to keep an eye on the next few days in the series because we're bringing you more voices and more perspectives and just honoring the leaders in our community. So thank you, Representative Gracie, for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. It was just an honor to talk with you, and thank you for all you do for all of us.
Yes. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.